when Ramana Maharshi was 16 or 17, he lay down with this sense that he was going to die. And there was a kind of curiosity inside him, like, whoa, what's happening here? And he lay down and he watched the mind and the different qualities, the different bodies that they subscribe to in the yogic model of existence. And he kind of discounted all of them, all the subtle bodies, the mental body, the emotional body, the physical body, which is not subtle, it's gross. And he came to the awareness that there's no death. And that was his enlightenment experience. There was no standing on his head. There was no jumping off a Swiss mountain to land in a train like Tom Cruise. There was no sacrificing his life on the beaches of Normandy for another. There was no nailing him to a cross. There was no temptation in the desert or under the banyan tree like there was for the Buddha or Jesus. And a friend of mine is David Godman, or an associate at least. I'm closer friends with Michael James, who's written a lot of books about Ramana's teachings. But there's a video online where David talks about, how consistently over the years his books on Ramana sell. There's a steady, slow, small, significant number of people that are drawn to him. And it's taken me years to come out of my shell to talk about my relationship with the studies of yoga and metaphysics and Krishnamurti, and primarily the Course in Miracles, because I wanted to make sure that if I ever took the path that I'm now taking, I wasn't doing it from a place of trying to persuade other people to follow what I've discovered, because that's evangelism and that's insecurity. But I was doing it from a place that reinforced my needs to usurp the thought system of the ego in my mind. So that's it's a very enlightened, selfish way of approaching this that I come to it. I'm not trying to be a teacher. Maybe things I say, just as other things that other people say teach me, will teach others. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm not trying to be a guru. No interest in that at all. But I wanted to talk here a little bit about the challenges when you start to embrace a deeper look at what's looking in you. I'll repeat that, a deeper look at what's looking in you. And you might want to share your enthusiasm for that journey, and other people just may not be ready to hear what you're talking about. They may never be in your experience with them. And that doesn't make them wrong, nor does it make you wrong. But I think there is a profound pull in us to find people that resonate with what we're seeing. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The people that I talk to about my inner spiritual journey are people that have had similar experiences. They may have been crucified in the world by people who attacked them, and they didn't fight back in the normal way. They stood their ground perhaps, but they didn't try to assassinate the character of those people that tried to assassinate their character. But they didn't shout from talking to truth, like living up to truth, right? And I do think that my biggest nemesis in this life has been my fascination and love of science. Because the problem with science is that it thinks that the material reality is all there is. I mean, because you can't measure anything that's non-material. Okay, people say you can measure the speed of light and that's non-material, but it's still energy. You can't measure something that goes beyond the realm of energy and mass. You can't measure it. There's no tape measure for that. But you can qualify the impact of a deeper peace on your way of being. You can see when people get upset and when people shout at you and when they're caught in the ego, that you, with great forbearance, can cultivate a capacity not to get drawn in to the triggers inside you that have developed in response to that. And usually the people that trigger us the most are people that we let in the most. So often our greatest teachers are the people that are the most difficult in our lives. And I'm happy to start to talk about the significance of the Course in Miracles to the pain mechanism in man, and how it's so much deeper than any system of medicine, although I'm not putting down medicine. Medicine works to a degree, but it's treating the effects. And that's why the Course in Miracles, that's why Krishnamurti, that's why the enlightened schools of Buddhism, that's why Ramana Maharshi, they're the ultimate healers. In the mirrors they proffer up to you, because you're looking in the mirror of a story, right? Whether it's the story of Buddhism, the story of Ramana Maharshi, the story of a living presence, of an example in your life of someone that's very peaceful. They're just stories on the outside of you. But what you draw from those stories that drives real inner change is what matters. And there's only one person to educate in the entire universe, and that's you. Educate means pull out what's inside you. Go within, you know. So, in that sense, I'm not creating this channel to fix anyone out there or to help anyone out there. The Course in Miracles says our task here is to be truly helpful. And the greatest help we can extend is by learning to unlearn our fear and its conditioning, by learning to see ourselves in a light that we've forgotten. And I've seen the zealot in me want to persuade people about what I discovered about nuclear fusion and what I discovered about Neville Goddard's teachings. I've come to realize that it's a loneliness that wants to do those kind of activities in the world. And I've also come to see that, in a sense, Ramana Maharshi and the Course in Miracles are these, for me anyway, for others people it can be different things, but they are symbols of what our journey here is really about. And if we make idols of those things, we miss the value that they're trying to impart to us by their symbolism. And the true goal of spiritual wisdom is not to share it, but to be it. Not to preach it, because that's just insecurity looking for an outlet, but to demonstrate it. And I suppose words can have a place in that, you know. I've ummed and ahed about creating a channel because, like, what difference will I make? Well, the difference I'll make was I'll start to embrace the fear that this is something I don't want to admit to. I'll start to embrace the resistance to fully taking on, living this deep and healing way of seeing that leads to gnosis. So that's my only purpose behind the videos. I mean, yeah, I'd like to build a channel. I'd like to create a brand around this, because I think it's something that my interest in aesthetics and my interest in the different aspects of the mind, and whether it's science or art, can be put to good use, because I have a passion for it. But ultimately, it's just a vehicle. It's like a hobby at the peripheries of my life that is becoming more and more important, and will continue to grow. That is a way of me speaking to all the things that have deluded me in this life, that have blinded me, that have been blocks to the truth. And that I have a sense that that might be valuable, both in me hearing my own words about that, so I can start to master the journey I'm on, but also to others who are facing similar conundrums. But yeah, one of the great blocks of the insecure mind is that you find something treasured and beautiful, and it's natural to want to share that. But if you want to share it in such a manner that seeks to persuade others to follow this incredible enlightened teaching that you've found, then think again, because your job isn't to fix the world, it's to fix how you see it.